Well, hello everyone, welcome to Edward Chin's video. In this video, I'm gonna introduce an Iran book, The Colonel, written by famous Iran patriotic fiction writer Mahmoud Dowlatabadi. The historic background of the story in this novel is the Iran Islamic Revolution happened in 1979, which made the end of the 2,500 years of Persian monarchy and changed the Iran to an Islamic republic. Our main character, the unnamed colonel who served for the Shah, the king of the Iran monarchy government, has 5 children. Each serves as a symbol of a distinct political stand during the revolution. Amir, the eldest brother among the 5, is a member of the Tudeh, an orthodox communist party in Iran. He got arrested by the Savak, a CIA-supported secret police organization whose members are a bunch of specialized torturers aiming to eliminate descendants. He was charged with murder of the sister of a police officer, a crime that he did not got involved with at any bit. He got grievously tortured in the prison before he was released due to lack of evidence, and later bit, as a revenge of the tyranny of the previous regime, joined the revolution as a revolutionary leader in his hometown. However, the Tudeh's collaboration with the new regime turned out to be a complete betrayal of their own ideals, and most of the members got mental disorders due to nihilisms. Amir went completely mad after his father killed his mother due to her incessant affairs and attempted to commit suicide, which was stopped by his brother-in-law and then executed off with head. The second son, Mohammad Tachi, is a hot-blooded guerrilla of the People's Fedayeen, a communist-leaning party that was founded in 1979. This party was later condemned as a dissident, and Taki was liquidated by the new regime. Masoud, the last son, joined the Iran-Iraq War in 1980 and died during the battle. His head was lost on the battlefield and replaced with an unknown head matched in random to his torso before the ceremony, which turned out to be a frantic celebration for him being a martyr. The colonel also has 2 daughters. The youngest one, named Parvanain, beloved by the whole family, joined the People's Mujahideen, a left-wing organization that claimed to be friends of the West, and joined the Iraq side during the Iraq-Iran War. The organization was later condemned as traitors, and Parvanain was executed by the theocracy. Her body was returned to the colonel after the execution. The old sister in the family, Farzanain, is married to a man among the weathercocks, who always take advantages of whichever political side that is the strongest. She spent her life in countless domestic violence, along with her husband executing his political field brothers. Moving back to the colonel, he served in the army of the dictator, believed that the power is always controlled by the upper rule. But the revolution smashed his belief completely, showing him how people can fight against the regime. Well, it is ironic that though the revolution is proven to be effective and successfully destroyed the monarchy of the Iran imperial government, 4 of his 5 children died because of the chaotic political and martial conflicts. Due to the misfortune in his old years, the colonel turned from an amiable, vigorous veteran who loved his family and kids, believing that he should always let his children find their own way in life, to a feelingless, numb guy who dare not even stare his favorite photograph of the colonel himself. In the end, after his old son Amir was executed by his son-in-law as the 4th children he has lost, the colonel took shower, dressed in his military suit, and ended his life with his treasured saber on his veranda. The whole book is about a series of miseries happened to a family during the Iran Islamic Revolution, where the young people are all seeking for an identity and belief in which they can fight for, while the different parties they join tore them apart based on isms from their friends and family, and the endless political struggles happened in the country took away most of their lives. Quote, "I'm a stranger in my own home. The tragedy of our whole country is the same. We're all alienated, strangers in our own land." Here, we're gonna focus on one specific character, Amir, the one who suffered the most, both mentally and physically, among the children, and showed the most drastic change during the revolution. From a tough communism fighter to a nihilist curling up in the basement, proclaiming himself as a brother of nobody and a son to no one. Amir's characteristic is very symbolic. He got imprisoned because of a blood-stained knife found on him that belonged to a man he worked together with, Mansour Salami. Mansour is one of his comrades, but was found out to be a murderer and drunkard. By the time Amir saw this knife, it was being pointed right to his throat by Mansour. The scene was pretty illusory and metaphorical. Quote, "The distorted perspective seemed perfectly normal to me, nor was I surprised when I saw no one, but two Salamis." The two Salamis here can be very representative, since one of them managed to stab me right in the throat, while the other one grabbed the other's hand and forced him to drop the blood-stained knife at my feet. The comparison of the two Salamis shows the chaotic while self-contradictory revolution during its early period. Due to the CIA and Iran's imperial government's suppression, many of the members of the Tudeh party can hardly distinguish between friends and enemies. The incessant suppression of Savak against its descendants also makes the party full of secret agencies and police. Many tortured party members went mad. As a result, he was captured, unable to point out the real criminal since Salami was dead 11 months ago. The torture was a mere destruction of his mental order due to his lack of information on what the Savak wants. He then became embittered by what he had to go through in prison, yet still hopeful for the future of his country. However, as the former regime went to an end, and the Khomeini, leader of the revolution, turned the country into a theocratic republic, renegated the other parties and closed the universities and even secondary schools, his only fantasy toward the future of the country was crashed. He serves as a symbol of the victims of the backfire during the Iran Islamic Revolution in his book. In this book, many aspects of the revolutions are told with metaphorical, connotative words, and I hereby leave them for my audiences to think some of the sentences' meanings in self-discretion. When talking about Pervin Nain, who joined the West-friendly organization, the colonel thought himself, "Young birds get lost in the wind, particularly in the west wind. It confuses them and makes them giddy. It ties them up in knots and they lose their sense of direction. And, in their struggle to find their way, they break their wings." And a mere sentence after his total lockdown was, "I feel as though my past, all the lines my past is written on, have been wiped out with a rubber." When the colonel was at night to bury his own daughter, he said, "It looks as though nothing will ever make this spring stop." What do you think these lines mean? Feel free to leave it in the comment area. One last interesting knowledge. According to New York Times 2012, the author of the book Mahmoud finished this book in the early 1980s, but hid it, and the book was only published in the US, even though the book is also blaming Western interference with the revolution. When talking about this book, Mahmoud himself said, "I have been required to have lots of patience, perseverance, and very few expectations from life."